Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Monday Morning Mutant Mumblings live stream. And I'm doing this on OBS right now, so I have no idea if any of this is getting through, which would be a great thing for my first time trying to do this. And, like I said in a tweet, the road to a destination is always inevitably going to be bumpy. And this is going to be a bumpy road. So, thank you for joining me this morning. We are going to talk about mutants. There's a lot of stories going out, rumors going out. And this one I wanted to talk about because this is something that we wrote about on Bounding's website, Bounding into Comics. And let me see if I can boomer my way through getting to that particular thing here. So, the story originally about She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel, introducing the A-Force with a mutant twist on Bounding into Comics. You could check our story out there. I wrote it. Spoiler alert. But this is coming from Mikey Sutton, and it was brought to you by, I forget the channel, the YouTube channel that originally broke it. But Mikey Sutton provided the information. We are essentially getting female members of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at least in the TV series, teaming up to create an A-Force team. Now, if you remember in the Avengers Endgame, we were getting a little tease to that. But one of the big twists of that little team up is we're going to be introduced to a mutant. That mutant is Dazzler of X-Men fame. Now, here's the thing about Dazzler. I remember she was part of the team. I hardly read any comics that had her in them, though, because I was more into the 90s X-Men, and Allison Blair was not part of that. But Allison Blair, able to create waves of light based off of, sound that was being projected. So essentially, however loud it is, she can emit powerful shocks of light because of it, converting one sort of energy into another. So, she's going to be part of the A-Force, which, take it for what it's worth. It's an interesting thing, and what this essentially leads us to is all of these rumors about the mutants being piecemealed into these franchises. So we're not getting an X-Men proper, a proper X-Men team, a proper X-Men lineup. We are getting characters who are part of the X-Men, who are part of the history of the X-Men, part of the mutant collective. We're getting those characters as individuals being piecemealed throughout all of these shows that are already established characters of the MCU. And this is kind of problematic in one way, because they'll be like cameoed. And I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's a good thing to cameo one of the most popular, I'm going to put this out there, one of the most popular comic book franchises in Marvel. And you could probably argue with me about, the logistics of all of that. But one of the most popular, you could probably argue Spider-Man, but one of the most popular comic book franchise. And the thing about that is you will have a great time trying to get these guys together. It would be like introducing Iron Man first and introducing Thor first, kind of introducing the Incredible Hulk first in solo movies before having a team up thing. My issue with that is that's how it was. That's how it was in the comic books. They had their little solo titles, and then they teamed up in Avengers. The X-Men didn't have solo titles before they were introduced. You had Wolverine show up in a Hulk, in a battle against the Incredible Hulk. There's kind of an introduction to the character in that. If you are to believe the rumors that also were introduced by Mikey Sutton last year about a Wolverine and Hulk movie where they would battle it out, then that's comic book accurate. I'll give it that. But then you got stuff like this, where Dazzler's being introduced as a character in a team of the A-Force. Now, I don't know much about the A-Force. It was written by G. Willow Wilson, and the artwork was by, I think, Pepe Larraz? Anyway, great artwork. I respect G. Willow Wilson's ability to write well. However, it's a when it was put into Endgame, it seemed like an inserted pandering thing, like ooh, and it didn't make sense to the story, to the progression of what was happening in the battle. It's like all the guys were off in La La Land fighting against the forces of Thanos, and then all of a sudden, very conveniently, it's just like they all went about their different ways. All right, let's see. And I need to check something real quick here. So, let's check if my stream is happening. Oh, it is. Okay, cool. So, it's happening. Someone just messaged me saying what's happening. Oh, okay. Something was supposed to be happening, but I guess, I haven't gotten any. I can't even talk about it here. So, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, the mutants being piecemealed into the franchises. I don't think that's a great idea, because when we were first introduced to the world of mutants, it was in this effort. It was in, Uncanny X-Men. So you got Cyclops, you got Jean Grey, you got Iceman, you got Beast, you got Angel. All of those characters as a team up against Magneto, first issue. Then you have giant-size X-Men. For the most part, all of these characters, except for Wolverine, all of these characters had their first debuted in that issue. Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Thunderbird, all of them were introduced in that comic, and Sunfire, and for the most part, the X-Men were always identified as a team. But, and I don't have any footage for this one, because, it premiered on a YouTube channel. And let me go to some of the things going on there. This is coming from Everything Always, a YouTube channel. And essentially what it will be is we are going to get an Agents of S.W.O.R.D. television show for for the Disney Plus platform. However, the problem with having that is it's not a problem. Having a Agents of S.W.O.R.D. is it's been set up. So you saw it at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. Nick Fury's in space, setting up some sort of huge space station. It looks like a docking bay for all intents and purposes. And what we have there is the beginnings of S.W.O.R.D. People are not familiar with S.W.O.R.D. It's like S.H.I.E.L.D., but set up in space to defend Earth against any kind of threats that might come from the outer reaches of the galaxy. And Fury is setting this up and kind of heading the project. And there's a lot of Skrulls on board helping him with assembling a lot of those parts there. And what we have here in this little leak, or I don't know, they're calling it an exclusive, but it's essentially Beast is going to be part of that lineup of the Agents of S.W.O.R.D. They're going to introduce Beast. And what I understand from the leak, or from the rumor, is that Beast will be blue. It'll be the blue Beast that we know from the current version of the comic books, not the one that started out hairless and just brawny and acrobatic, like, in the old comics. Yeah, I'm not too familiar. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the Everything Always channel. Now, here's the thing. Again, why piecemeal these characters? And why choose... It's weird. You have Omega Red supposedly showing up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You have Omega Red supposedly showing up in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Then you got the dude in the wheelchair, WizKid, showing up in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, supposedly. I don't know. A lot of these rumors are just way off the wall, and they're piecemealing in third, fourth level popularity characters. Like, for me, Dazzler is somewhere down the list of, like, I don't know. Why not put the A tier? Where's Storm? Where's Xavier? If they're going to introduce that world, why not introduce the A-listers? So we know, so the audience knows, hey, that's a bald guy that can read minds. Is that? And then when you do the reveal, you're like, oh, they're doing it. They're doing it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, why not do that? Why not do that? Yeah. So, Deviant Porg, when I say it's a ripoff channel of Emergency Awesome, it's truly that. They arrived after, took a name very similar, and began throwing news from their Okay, but to be fair, Deviant Porg, Everything Always... Yeah, they could have just solo movies, but the first appearance has to be Phase 4 movies. They're talking about this. They're talking about the Beast showing up in Phase 5. Because... Yeah, so... Anyway, hail everyone in the chat. I'm doing OBS, which is why the chat thing is screwing up for me. So I'm actually chatting to everyone through my phone here, and it's hard for me to see what's happening real time. And as I get better at this, maybe I'll be able to arrange all of this a little better. But hail Lopter, Demon King of Inferno, Sparking, what's up? Deviant Porg, I know you're here. So yeah, Dazzler was very popular back in the day. The only time I had any significant exposure to the Dazzler character was in that X-Men arcade game. Where it was kind of like a beat 'em up, like freaking Altered Beast. You freaking fight through a level, and everyone had these like power buttons. You'd hit that, and there'd be a cooldown time. But yeah, Deviantborg, they'll take their time. As they did, they'll begin with the Easter eggs, very little details. They already had a plan for a few years. Yeah, they could have just solo movies, but the first appearance has to be Phase 4. So yeah, they're talking about Beast showing up in Phase 5. And, this is where they're also talking about the Agents of Sword showing up, Phase 5. And this could be like 8 years down the line. I'm not sure, because right now they still have to get Black Panther 2 out of the way. They have to get Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness out of the way. And from everything that we've heard about the production schedules and this thing that's going on right now that nobody's allowed to talk about unless they want to get demonetized, all of that has been set back. So we might not see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness until after when we were supposed to actually see it. And yeah, they're gonna take their time, and as a fan of the mutants, it pisses me off because I don't want them to take their time. I want that shit now. I want it yesterday. Now, the thing is, when they talk about the Beast showing up in the Agents of Sword, supposedly, this is all rumor. Whatever you hear now, all rumor. Take it with a grain of salt. But if they do Beast, what they're saying is it's going to be a more CG Beast. They're going to do the CGI for the Beast character, and that's how we'll get it. And they started taking a crap on the movies takes on the Beast character. And what? X3. The highlight for that movie was Kelsey Grammer's Beast. That was a perfect casting. The dude can speak. He's eloquent. He can pontificate on the complexities of the established realities of the genetic and mutant code of whatever the DNA is called, dexonite, whatever. He would know all those words right off the top of his head because he kind of did Frasier, and he's able to articulate himself clearly and well. I didn't like Nicholas Hoult being cast as the character because the dude is he's like me. Big words are not part of my regular vocabulary, nor is it part of my acting vocabulary. Not that I have an acting vocabulary, but it's not there. Dude is he's one of us. Case in point, I go to Comic-Con 2016. He's on stage during the X-Men panel, and they're supposed to be talking about X-Men Apocalypse. But the dude is just sat back in his chair like, Holy shit, that Deadpool trailer. I want to see that again. And then everybody cries out that, yeah, we want to see that again. So the moderators of the freaking Hall H that year just said, okay, cool, we'll play it again. The dude is one of us. Not a person of high language, which Beast in the comic books most certainly is. There's also a thing where, okay, they're maybe doing one A-lister, and I think there's a story in the docket. There might be a story in the docket about Storm, like rumors going around about Storm showing up in Black Panther 2. Like I said, them showing up as, I wouldn't say ancillary characters, like cameos. If they're showing up as cameos, I don't know how I feel about that. If the writing's got to be off the chain, off the hook, in order for me to buy into what they're going to do with these characters. Like the writing for Guardians of the Galaxy, off the chain, off the hook. I never read Guardians of the Galaxy. I never read the original Guardians of the Galaxy. When those guys were being set up, the Ogord, brother and sister, Stakar and Aletta, and freaking forget the other characters. See, the forgettable characters, and I never read those comic books, nor did I read the ones that are current Guardians of the Galaxy. But guess what? James Gunn made me remember who those characters were. Mantis, Rick and Nebula, Rick and Rocket, Rick and Groot, Star-Lord, and Drax the Destroyer. Those names you remember because the writing had an impact. And the direction and the characters and the acting of the characters. If they piecemeal these characters, these mutants, into every part of the franchise leading up to a huge team up at the end of whatever phase 5 or phase 6 or phase 7, whatever that happens to be, if the writing is good, I will watch it. I'll have my little complaints at the beginning, like why the fuck Storm showing up in Black Panther, not showing up in the fucking X-Men giant size issue like in the comic books. What the fuck? If they do the writing well enough where I can suspend my disbelief and my comic book lore, then I'll give it a pass. I will watch the rest of it. For the most part, they've been doing that. They had a huge miss with Captain Marvel, and I really hope that going forward they're not going to make things like that, where they put the bullshit in front of the established comic book lore. Yeah. All right, Sporking. See you tonight. Yeah, Deviant Pork, I've read absolutely all Guardians aside from the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah, I haven't read those books. Why? Because the art style back then just didn't appeal to me. There was some old-timey art styles like Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby I could appreciate. Joe Kubert, I could appreciate his artwork too, because it was interesting in its fashion for the time period. And then Joe Kubert I latched on to because this is the father of two great artists for Marvel and DC, Adam and Andy. But yeah, there's a lot to be said about what's going to be happening with the mutants at whatever phase they happen to show up in. I'm just sad that it's going to happen in phase 5. I'm going to be way past 40 when they finally get their ducks in a row to get these mutants out to us. And on top of all of that, we have a Beast who's going to be blue. I don't know how I feel about that. Right off the bat, he's just going to be blue. And here's the thing. There is a continual movement of fans of a franchise, of a character, of, the OGs who have read up on stuff, who have looked into things and are saying, okay, cool. I'm reading up on all of this. I am caught up in what the lore is. I know what the established canon is. But let's be honest, the established canon of the X-Men is everywhere. But despite that, there is a consistent kind of thing going on of this is what happens to him here. This is what happens to him here. Beast, during the course of the comic books, becomes less human-looking and more like a Khajiit from Elder Scrolls Online. He has to be blue, but not at the beginning. And that was the thing I liked about what they did for the Fox franchise in Nicholas Holt's character. In the beginning, he wasn't blue. In X-Men First Class, he was not blue. He was not intelligent. He was not articulate. He was not eloquent. But he was not blue. And it progressed to where he was starting to become more beastly. That's the thing I appreciated that was a callback to the comic books. Other things about his character choices and stuff like that, no. But that was what I appreciated. And I think it was also hinted that Kelsey Grammer's character of Beast had experienced the same thing. So it was keeping in with that continuity. Yeah, true, he was not in the beginning, but he looked like a weird wrestler. Now, here's the thing. Will they do the body dimorphism? Will they make the Beast or Hank McCoy look like an overgrown gorilla at the beginning, just with human skin? Because in the comic books, that's what he looks like. He already looks like that. And then he starts growing the nails and the thing. But what I would like to see before I'm 60 is the X-Men as a team. The bald ass telepathic, the crazy ass magnet guy, or freaking a proper Dark Phoenix storyline, where first they start out as, where Jean Grey starts out as Phoenix. And if they piecemeal this stuff in, it might be years before we get a proper X-Men team. Why? Because they're going to piecemeal these guys in, and they're going to be 10, 20 years down the line. Yeah, maybe I'm being too crazy about that. But it's going to be a number of years before we actually get to see them come into their own in this team setup of their own. And then there's casting, there's, a lot of these turns and twists that could happen within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, notwithstanding the reality that we're facing right now with a thing that shall not be named unless you want your videos demonetized. That can happen too and shut down a production just as much. Like 2020 is a wrap. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about that. What we've got going on this week, there's going to be more mutants showing up in our articles on boundingintocomics.com. So check those out. We're also going to be having more videos. I think we got our Trek Tuesdays. I got a big old ending card on the last video that I had out. So check that out. Kind of goes over some of the stuff that we have for the rest of the week. Like the Big Brother in Umbrella Academy. Yeah, like that guy. Except shorter legs. He's got shorter legs. Anyway, but that's what we got going on. Thanks for joining me, Deviant Porg. Sporking, he's already left the building. Lopter, Demon King of Inferno, I am not sure how you're getting all your legendaries. Tell me your secret. Maybe after 6 years of playing it, that's how you do it. But yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. We will have another thing going on tomorrow. Come check us out. 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going into Star Trek DS9. I think we're on the 4th or 5th episode. But I think we're going to be talking about the Lower Decks and the new trailer that came out. No one's excited about it? I haven't checked it out for myself, but I heard that they disabled the comments and they disabled the freaking like button and the dislike button ratio. So that'll be interesting to talk about. I know I voiced my opinion on a very pro, like, Star Trek Lower Decks kind of discussion, and I was downvoted to hell because I voiced an opinion which was not part of the group think that was going on over there. I essentially said, this is... I'm watching DS9, and this is not DS9, nor adjacent to that. Why did they put the Star Trek title in front of it? And I got don't. Anyway, so thanks for joining me, and let me see if I can end the stream without completely boomering it. All right. See you in a bit, guys. Thanks.